Hello, this is Liren from 12G3, and this is my mini brain model that I made using just paper and tape. Here in this model, you can see that the brain is color-coded into 4 different lobes. So we have the frontal lobe, we have the parietal lobe, the occipitalope, and the temporal lobe. Now we'll look more into each part, and I'll start with the frontal lobe, which is at the front. This is the largest lobe, and it's located at the front right behind your forehead. It's also the most common region of injury and traumatic brain injury. This frontal lobe is important for voluntary movement, expressive language, and for managing higher level executive functions, which are things like cognitive skills. They're skills that allow you to learn things, remember, reason, and pay attention. And up here we have the parietal lobe. The parietal lobe, it's very close to the brain center and it's behind the frontal lobe. An area in the parietal lobe, it's just called the sensory cortex, which you can see here. This is the sensory cortex and this is the motor cortex. The sensory cortex is where impulses from the brain, impulses from the skin like warmth, cold, pain, and touch are interpreted. And in the motor cortex is where motor senses are interpreted in your brain. And this is on the parietal lobe. So the parietal lobe is also an essential element of spatial information, which gives us the ability to judge size, distance, and shapes, and it gives us the ability to understand written language. In left-handed people, the right hemisphere is more active, and for right-handed people, the left hemisphere is more active. Okay, now back at the back here, we have the occipital lobe. It's behind the parietal lobe, and this lobe is very important for your primary visual cortex. It's a very important part, and it's a region of the brain that receives input from the retina of the eye. So it helps you see color and see things, and it's how your brain perceives vision. And if you damage this lobe, you'll likely result in visual impairments or any other vision-related problems. Now the last lobe we're going to look at is the temporal lobe. The temporal lobe, they sit behind your ears, and it's the second largest lobe. They're associated with processing auditory information or hearing, and with the encoding of memory. The dominant temporal lobe, which is the left side in most people, is involved in understanding language and learning and remembering verbal information. For the non-dominant lobe, which is usually the right temporal lobe, it's involved in learning and remembering nonverbal information. And if you damage your temporal lobes, it can result in difficulty understanding spoken words or things like that. So yeah, those are the 4 lobes of the brain. This is my model, and thank you.